Today on Hampton Roads Business Weekly, it's all about starting a business.
From finding the right space to the legal and financial questions you need to be asking.
Get ready, all you budding entrepreneurs. Hampton Roads Business Weekly starts right now.
Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Cheryl Tan.
And I'm Zach Miller. Welcome to Hampton Roads Business Weekly. Today we're taking a look at some of our best segments about starting a business.
We start with Joe Witt of Old Point National Bank. We talked about the smart way to start a business and why turning to a bank to secure funding may not always be possible. Joe, we get this question all the time. What is the smart way to start a business?
Well, the smart way to start a business is first to have a good, solid business plan. If you don't understand what you're trying to do with your business, if you don't have a good plan for success, you're going to struggle from day one. So most entrepreneurs get into the business because they have an idea or a product that they're trying to sell, and that's great. But it's more than just about a product or an idea, especially if you don't have a patent. It's more than about a product or an idea because anybody else can have that same product or an idea. It's about having a good plan to bring it to market. But even more important than that, it's making sure you have the right capital and the right financing to finance your business before you get going.
And when we're talking about capital, it doesn't necessarily mean a lot of money to start a business, even especially in this day and age.
No, it doesn't take a lot of money, but you need to understand what the right amount of cash is. You can't start a business strictly on leverage, strictly on loans. You need to have some investment into it. And where do you get that investment from? Well, when you're an entrepreneur, generally you reach out to family or friends or a venture capitalist who shares the idea that you have. There's a lot of venture capitalists throughout Hampton Roads, a lot of wealthy people who are looking to help people start businesses. And there's networks out there that people can find to find those venture capitalists. Once you get their business going, sometimes you have to reach out to non-traditional forms of financing where you can factor your receivables or you can do some other things to create the cash flows you need to continue to finance your inventory and your payroll. But you need to be prepared to probably run losses for the first year. And if you can't be prepared to run losses for the first year, you're going to find yourself struggling, probably from day one.
I know you've said also before, as we talked, that probably your first stop if you're trying to get capital to start your business is not the bank, compared to what a lot of people think that.
Yeah, the bank is not the first place to come. Traditional banks like Old Point National Bank generally do not lend to startup businesses, and because it's not in our charter. That's not what banks were created for. That's not what we're here for. So your first place to go is find your capital, to get that base of capital. And once you get that base of capital and you start growing that business, there are plenty of non-traditional forms of financing out there. Once you're in business for a number of years, generally 2 to 3 years, and you begin to turn a profit, the bank is now the right place to come. And the bank can offer you more inexpensive financing and financing that allows you to grow the business faster because there's more availability of cash.
So that brings up a good point. So even if you're a startup company and you maybe know right in the very beginning that you're not eligible for any sort of loan, what programs do you offer or what kind of guidance can you give so that one day, 3 or 4 years down the road, you can come in as someone who may be able to get a loan?
Well, one of the guidance I would say is start the relationship with the bank on day one. Open up your accounts, run your transactions through, let the bank see what a great business you are. And that trust and that relationship begins to build over the years. There's also some other great programs out there. One of the things I do on my off job, I guess I'm chair of the Hampton Roads Chamber of Commerce right now. And we have the Small Business Development Center over there, which actually helps small businesses put together their business plans and figure out how to get that financing and helps to match them with those venture capitalists, with those other people who want to fund the startup businesses. That is a great way for a small business to work with professional people to get that help while they're working with the bank at the same time. Bring in as many partners as you can because people have been through this before and they could give you great advice to be successful.
And they're willing to help you out.
They're willing to help you out.
Joe, thank you.
Thank you.
So you're a business owner and you have a Facebook page. Awesome. It's a great way for you to get more leads into your business funnel. But what do you do when someone tags a person onto a post that you have posted? Well, this week's Zack Hack is simple. All you have to do is that person who was tagged in your post, reach out to them both online, but then individually, and create a relationship with that person, because likely the person that was tagged in your post has a lot of interest in what your business is doing. That's this week's Zack Hack. For more information, head on over to startwithhatch.com.
From LLCs to partnerships, the questions you need to be asking when starting a business. Next. Welcome back to Hampton Roads Business Weekly and the one thing entrepreneurs do that lead to their success. Today, we're talking about starting a business with Jeremy DeMosick with the law firm of Carroll Blanton Ferris in Virginia Beach. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
You're an expert in business law, and when we're talking about starting a business, some people fail to think about the legal aspects. But I know you're going to say, don't do that. What kind of legal things should you think about if you're about to start a company?
Well, if you're starting a business, one of the first things you want to think about is your entity formation. Are you going to be a partnership? Do you want to form an LLC or an S Corp? Choosing the right entity formation can really start you off on the right foot.
But what if you, as a startup, don't really know? You don't have all those pieces yet, and you're hoping to grow, you're hoping to change, and you're hoping to maybe bring some people on. What do you do in the beginning? What do you absolutely need to have at the very start?
Well, I think the way to go is obviously to talk to somebody who knows, like an attorney, and then they can talk to you about what might be most appropriate for your situation. So for most of my clients, big or small, I recommend an LLC. An LLC is a great way to both register your business officially with the state and also protect yourself personally from any kind of liability that you might have on behalf of the business. So for example, as an LLC, if you're doing business, whether it's you're running a catering business, a restaurant, a construction company, big or small, and let's say something happens, somebody gets hurt on the job, or one of your customers gets injured in your restaurant and they want to sue you, well, they can't sue you personally, they have to sue your LLC. Which means that if they were to win a lawsuit or a judgment against you, it wouldn't be against you personally, which means your personal assets aren't at stake, your home, your vehicle, other sources of income. It would just be the assets of your company. Your personal assets would be protected.
So no matter how small, even if you're just starting day one, you think an LLC is something to protect whatever company it is you do have?
Absolutely. The vast majority of my clients are really small businesses, even micro businesses we call them. It's sole owner, maybe a person and a partner, whether it's a spouse or a family member. They might be running out of their house, or I had a lot of contractor clients. It's a guy with a toolbox and a pickup truck, and that's all it is. But he still wants to make sure it's done right and to protect himself from any liability that might come in down the road.
And the segment is called The One Thing, because we like to focus on one thing that an entrepreneur can do to help them grow their business and that will lead to success. What is your one thing for the companies that I know you've worked with hundreds?
That one thing is to start early. It's never too early to go see an attorney for a free consultation. They can give you some guidance, like I said, on where you're at now, where you want to be, and how you can get there. You don't necessarily have to do everything at the beginning, but if you can get your ducks in a row early, it'll set you up for success down the road.
We've heard this often that, at least in the beginning, they're bootstrapping, they don't have the money, but something like this could actually save them money in the long run.
Oh, absolutely. The biggest problem I see with people who haven't, maybe they've tried to do it themselves in terms of these documents, or they put it off too long, is when something goes wrong, it ends up costing them a lot of money. So for example, with a partnership, you got two people who are going into business together. They need to have a partnership agreement at the beginning, because 6 months from now, if one person wants to leave or it falls apart, it's going to cost them a lot more money to unravel it than it would have to put it together the right way the first time.
Start right in the beginning.
Absolutely.
All right. Jeremy DeMosick, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Renee, and today we're going to be talking about your website.
A really important thing when you're building your website is to make sure that it's easily navigable. This means that people can find your content easy and they can find your navigation bar easy. All of your links make sense. And it's really important to also make sure that none of your links click through to broken pages. This could hurt your Google search engine results rankings.
So we as millennials are always looking for how to reach you and what your company is. So at the top of your page, make sure that you have your logo, your name, and your phone number at the very, very top, because we're not wanting to scroll through your content to find your phone number if we really want to contact you. Another great feature is if your phone number on your page is a click to call, which means that we can directly call your phone number from your website.
And it's also a really great idea to go ahead and buy your other subdomains. So if you're soandso.com, then it's a great idea to buy .net and .org as well, because if you're not buying it, someone else has the potential to buy it. So it's a great idea while you're going in there to buy your domain to go ahead and buy subdomains as well. It's cheap and it saves that space for you.
And this is your
Millennial Minute.
Finding the best space for your business. It's next on Hampton Roads Business Weekly. All right, you got your money in place, you have a handle on all your legal needs. Now it's time to set up shop. I spoke with Stephanie Sanker of Nussbaum Realty about the questions you need to be asking when looking for space for your business. All right, Stephanie, I'm a growing business and I'm looking for new office space. What should that business first look for?
I think the most important thing first is for a business to create a relationship with a broker. Having someone work on your behalf that's knowledgeable and has experience in the office market can not only help you decide what is the best location, but also can help negotiate lease terms on your behalf.
So a business can find a broker how?
Well, you can search through the internet or ask your friends, get referrals or recommendations. One thing that companies need to keep in mind is a lot of folks tend to believe that it will cost them money or it will increase their rate if they hire a broker. Typically the landlord will pay the broker's fee, so a company can have the advantage of having someone work on their behalf without it costing them anything.
So I find a broker. How does the broker kind of help you find the space that you're looking for?
Well, I think it's important to sit down with the broker and have a conversation about what your goals are. Budget is certainly important. Keep in mind your base rent, your operating expenses, moving costs, what can you afford to move into. You also should discuss location. Where are your clients? You know, where your clients be coming to you? Will you be going to them? Where do your employees live? One thing that we've seen a lot lately is the importance of employee retention and attraction. So companies are looking at, newer, more modern, hipper spaces that they can attract the young talent. So location is important also.
A landlord is going to do their due diligence on a business. What
Yes.
could the business do to do their due diligence on the facility?
That's a great question, because sometimes, you don't want to be locked in with a relationship with a landlord that's not a good landlord.
Right.
I would definitely ask your broker what their thoughts are on the landlord. I would ask existing tenants what their experience has been with a landlord. Start asking around. There's a lot of REITs, real estate investment trusts, that maybe your contact is in another state, that you can't get an answer right away. Or it could be a local landlord where, your light bulb goes out or you need to have a maintenance issue, they're right there handling it for you.
So should they expect that type of stuff? So a light goes out in the office and you guys replace that? Is that something they have to negotiate in terms, or how does that go through?
You negotiate who's responsible for what in your lease.
Okay, so what about the build out of something? So we're in a 21,000 square foot floor of this space. What would a business expect to get out of something like this from a build out standpoint?
Right, so this is what we call shell condition. This is a blank canvas. This is where someone can come in and say, I want offices here, a conference room here. You don't have to go into second generation space and knock down walls. And you will negotiate, and your broker will help you negotiate with the landlord your tenant improvement allowance. So the landlord, based on the length of the term of the lease you sign, will offer you an amount of money to go towards the build out of this space.
So if I was to get a space in this building, would I expect to have to pay for electricity, Wi-Fi, parking, all those things the same as a different building, or is that kind of built into the whole system, or is it a case-by-case basis?
This building and most larger office towers in the area will offer you a full service rate. Full service includes everything.
Gotcha.
If a tenant may hear the term triple net, so basically they're paying a base rent and then they're responsible for all their operating expenses.
Okay.
But in a full service office lease, everything is included.
Is there one thing that comes up a lot when someone's looking to get into a new space?
A lot of times, recently we're hearing about the what ifs. If I need to expand, if it doesn't work out, what are my options? If I need to take less space, or if I need to close the business. So you need to be able to talk to your landlord and negotiate with your landlord. Do I have the ability to expand? Can I have first right of refusal on space next door? If you're afraid that perhaps you won't be there through the entire term, do I have the ability to sublease? Talking about scenarios, what's going to happen in the future.
All right, gang, we want to hear what you have to say about Hampton Roads Business Weekly. If you have questions or comments about the show, tweet us at HRBizWeekly. We're back in 2 minutes. Today we've talked a lot about the various things that you need to know before starting your business, but none of that really matters if you don't take that risk. I sat down with Dr. Jo Bouchard, an organizational consultant and Regent University alum, about the importance of taking risk. A lot of people talk about failure, having an environment that's failure friendly. How can a business create an environment or community that allows for you to learn and embraces kind of the failure mindset?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that people have to do is get over their own fear of failure, or at least reframe it for themselves. I know that there are corporations in the Bay Area, in California, that refuse to hire anybody that has not had at least $1 million failure.
Wow.
Yeah, because they are working with huge stakes, and
Sure.
fear will keep you from taking the risks that can only be taken. I mean, you can only get the big payoffs if there is a big risk. So it's interesting. The more risk averse that we become, the less likely we are to become ingenuitive. The more we're willing to settle for things. People hole up in their little cubicles, not just in work cubicles, but the cubicles of their minds when they're afraid of failure. So yeah, the first thing is to recognize that failure is not your enemy. Actually, there has been no ingenuity that has happened on the planet that you could find, I would wager, without having had some level of failure that has brought it. We have failure to communicate. We'll invent telephones, you know. And so when people are afraid of failure, they're in for trouble. So again, one of the great ways to foster love for and freedom to fail is to, first of all, listen to stories of people who had great things birthed out of failure. Just to kind of remind yourself, if you haven't done it, it's the unknown. It's not necessarily the failure, but it's what's going to happen if I fail. What are people going to say? What are people going to do? So if you can talk to people who have experienced that and walked through the fire and came out on the other side, that's one way to kind of
and you learn a
rewire.
ton, whether the word is failure or just from a learning experience, but you learn a lot when someone tells you no, right? We talked to Damon John, he said, if everyone just told me yes, I wouldn't know what I was doing right or wrong.
Exactly.
And so if we look at no as a stepping stone to get to a yes, we have a lot better opportunity to actually get to that winning point.
Yes. And another one is opening up the conversation in the workplace and asking people, tell me what you're afraid of. Let's talk together about why we're afraid of taking this risk. And then talking through what are the benefits if we take this risk, what are the risks, and are we willing to step out there? But recognizing that those fears are there, and then talking through how to combat them can also be helpful.
So what are you afraid of?
I'm afraid of not being brave when I need to be. That's my biggest fear.
And so how do you take that, knowing that is something that you're afraid of, how do you take that thing and learn from it? We're going to use our own risk against it.
That's great. I don't necessarily recommend this for everybody, but for me, I figure the best way is to throw myself in. And so, so one of the things that I will do is I will find things that I'm afraid of and to do them. That is how I combat it. I kind of throw myself in and say, maybe I know how to do this and I just don't know that I know how. But I won't know how little or how much if I don't just throw myself in. And you know what? People are looking for other people to be the first one to take the step.
Sure.
Somebody's got to get the thing started, the process started, and after that, then people can. They're not afraid. It's like taking the first donut or anything else.
It's seeding the list. We have an email list that we say sign up for this thing and we'll give you this piece. But when there's no emails on the sign-in sheet, guess what? No one signs up.
Did you know that the shopping cart? I love the story of the shopping cart. Do you know the story?
I know.
There's nobody was using the shopping carts when they were first invented, so they actually hired
like a grocery store.
At a grocery store, And so they hired a model to go in and nonchalantly take a shopping cart and push it around and get groceries. That's all it took. Just one person doing it, and it made people feel like, oh, this is, and then they did it. And of course, now we can't even imagine life without shopping carts.
Sure. Crazy to think that all you need is just someone to start, and
Somebody's
then all the other things
jump.
can follow.
And so I tend to be, because I'm just as afraid as everybody else, but one of the things that I'll do is I'll jump. Everybody will laugh. They'll be glad that they weren't the ones that did it. So learning how to just jump, I think, is giving yourself permission to jump, even if you don't know what's going to happen next.
Love it.
That wraps up another edition of Hampton Roads Business Weekly. Like us on Facebook and Instagram at HR Business Weekly.
There, you will find segments from previous shows, plus some great behind-the-scenes pictures and videos. For Hampton Roads Business Weekly, I'm Zach Miller.
And I'm Cheryl Tan. We'll see you next week.
Hampton Roads Business Weekly, sponsored by Regent University and produced by ABC 13.